Who gave you permission to touch the Apache? Colonel Reynolds' voice echoed across the hangar, sharp and mocking. Laughter followed, loud and cruel. Sierra Maddox stood silently, wearing oil-stained overalls, a small rag in her hand. She didn't flinch, didn't argue, didn't even look surprised. "This isn't a cosplay session," Reynolds said again, shaking his head. "You're a technician. Go back to cleaning tools." More laughter. Some pilots high-fived each other. Sierra calmly took off her jacket. The room fell silent. On her chest, over a faded black t-shirt, was a patch, a silver dragon wrapped tightly around 3 black stars. Reynolds' face froze. "Iron Talon," he whispered. And just like that, the room went dead quiet. Everyone had heard the rumors. A ghost unit, a classified squad, pilots who flew impossible missions that no one ever admitted happened. A team that didn't exist, not officially. That patch wasn't something anyone could buy. You didn't earn it in training. You earned it surviving things others didn't. Sierra didn't explain. She didn't need to. She was 30 years old, small build, hair tied back tight, soft-spoken. Eyes sharp like glass under pressure, a black hollow base. She worked as a technician, replaced parts, checked wires, scrubbed panels. Nobody knew she used to fly. Nobody cared. What they didn't know, what no one here could possibly imagine, was that Sierra Maddox had once been one of the best helicopter pilots in special operations. She didn't learn she learned while dodging real bullets. She flew through enemy fire, extracted wounded teams from the edge of death, and provided close air support where backup never came. But her real file was gone, buried underclassified, locked away because of one mission that went wrong. Not her mistake, a failed OP, a political cover-up. Everyone involved was reassigned, their records sealed, their medals locked away. Sierra lost her flight wings, not because she failed, but because the military needed the failure to disappear, so she disappeared, assigned to Black Hollow Base, told not to speak about her past, told to work behind the scenes, and she did, quietly, without complaint. Every day she saw young pilots practicing moves she could do in her sleep, watched them struggle to land properly, misread controls, fumble under pressure. She said nothing. She was the quiet one in the corner, the one who cleaned the bird after everyone went home. They laughed at her, ignored her, never saw her, but Sierra wasn't there to be seen. She was waiting, and one day, someone made a mistake. They were short-staffed. A name was needed for backup, simulator assignment. Somehow, Sierra's name got typed in. Colonel Reynolds saw it and laughed. A technician on the simulator roster must be a joke. The other officers laughed with him, until she stood, walked forward, and removed her jacket. The dragon patch said everything. "Iron Talon," Reynolds said quietly. "I thought no one survived Kandahar." "I did," she answered, "and I flew Apaches there, not in simulation. In real combat zones." No one spoke. Reynolds looked again. That patch was real. That patch meant she had flown through places that would terrify the strongest among them. Sierra didn't explain further. She didn't need to prove anything. She just stood there, straight, still, calm. Not as a technician. Not anymore. She was a pilot again, and the room finally understood who they were really looking at. The next morning, the training room was packed. Pilots whispered among themselves. They had all heard the same thing. The quiet woman from the maintenance hangar was going to fly the Apache simulator. Colonel Reynolds stood near the door, arms crossed, face unreadable. No jokes today, no smirks, just quiet watching. Sierra Maddox stepped into the room, same calm eyes, same steady steps. She didn't look around, didn't check who was watching. She just climbed into the simulator like she had done it 1,000 times. And maybe she had done no hesitation, no wasted motion. Her hands moved across the controls with quiet confidence, like they belonged there. She disabled the AI assist before anyone told her to, entered coordinates manually, without needing the heads-up display. She flipped switches in an order the trainers didn't teach anymore, an older method, a more experienced one. Then the simulation began. Wind turbulence, night vision failure, unexpected terrain changes, emergency alerts blared one after another. Sierra didn't panic, didn't pause. She flew low, hugging the earth like it was muscle memory. She banked around tight ridges, avoided enemy fire, and rerouted mid-mission without losing control. The simulation threw every challenge it had. Engine failures, navigation glitches, communication blackouts. She handled them all quietly, smoothly, like she had lived through it before. No talking, no showing off, just flying. At one point, a young pilot watching whispered, "She's not flying for training, she's flown this for real." Even the flight instructor, a man with 15 years of Apache experience, stood there, speechless. Sierra completed the mission with time to spare. No damage, no faults, no hesitation. She stepped out of the simulator. Silence. Reynolds stared at her for a long moment. He didn't say thank you, didn't ask questions. He just nodded, a slow, quiet nod, and gave her what every real soldier understands. Respect. Not for medals, not for stories, but for competence. That evening, Sierra was added to the actual flight list. No one questioned it now, because they had seen what she could do. Not in theory, not on paper, but with their own eyes. And the base would never look at her the same way again. The sun rose early over Black Hollow Base. Pilots gathered near the runway, ready for the day's training flights. But today, there was a different name on the list: Sierra Maddox. Some officers raised eyebrows, others said nothing. Everyone watched. She walked toward the Apache. Calm as ever, helmet tucked under one arm, no shaking hands, no nerves, just purpose. Colonel Reynolds stood near the tarmac, arms folded. He didn't stop her. He didn't need to. Sierra climbed into the Apache cockpit like she belonged there, because she did. From pre-flight checks to final switch tests, her hands moved like they'd never left the controls, while others double-checked manuals. She caught something no one else noticed. The hydraulic pressure's low, she said calmly to the crew chief. He blinked. "We're still within safe training limits." Sierra nodded. "Sure, but if this were a combat op, I'd have that looked at." The crew chief checked again. She was right. It wasn't a fault, not yet, but it could have become one. He looked at her with new eyes. Then, the blades started spinning. The Apache lifted into the air. Sierra didn't just fly. She moved with the machine. Every turn, every shift, her movements were precise, fluid, second nature. She followed terrain like she'd memorized it, avoided radar detection routes, hovered through tight gaps where others hesitated. The chase pilot, flying alongside, couldn't believe it. "She's flying like she's been on this route for years." He radioed in. "Who trained her?" No one replied, because Sierra wasn't trained like the others. She was shaped by war, tested in real skies, refined by real danger. Every move she made came from memory, not manuals. Then came the real test. The tower sent a sudden change in orders. Emergency scenario. One engine down. Communication lost. Weather disturbance ahead. Simulated panic. But Sierra didn't blink. She rerouted mid-air, adjusted altitude, stabilized the machine with one engine offline, all while maintaining full control. Inside the tower, instructors watched quietly. Colonel Reynolds leaned in, eyes locked on the screen. "She's not reacting," one young officer whispered. "She's just handling it." That's when they understood. Sierra Maddox didn't need the patch to prove anything. The way she flew said it all. No bragging, no noise, just results. She landed the Apache so smoothly it felt like a feather brushing down on steel. Reynolds walked up as she stepped out. No speech, no apology. He simply raised his hand and saluted, a silent gesture that said everything. Others followed. Even the same young pilots who once laughed now stood in respect. But Sierra didn't smile. She didn't act like she'd won. She just removed her helmet, tucked it under her arm, and walked past them, back straight, head steady, because this was never about proving anything to them. She already knew who she was. After that flight, everything changed. The base that once ignored her now watched her. Not with doubt, but with quiet admiration. Sierra Maddox wasn't promoted, didn't get any medals, didn't ask for anything. She just went back to work, checking helicopters, inspecting systems, wiping down controls. But now, when she walked into a room, it went quiet, not out of fear, out of respect. Pilots started approaching her, asking questions they were too proud to ask before. "Ma'am, how do you manage hydraulic pressure in low-altitude turns? What would you do if you lost both radios mid-mission?" She never made them feel small. She just shared what she knew. One Saturday evening, she put up a note: "Advanced Flight Class, Open Session, Hangar 3. No rank needed, just curiosity." Only 2 pilots showed up the first week, but by the end of the month, there weren't. Enough chairs. Every Saturday night, while others relaxed, she taught. Not from textbooks, not with PowerPoints, she taught from experience, how to navigate without instruments, how to read the land when your screen goes dark, how to fly safe when everything else is failing. She didn't just teach flying, she taught judgment, timing. How do you stay steady during emergencies? Someone asked once. She paused, then answered, because I've been in cockpits where one wrong move meant someone didn't come home. That's what made her different. She wasn't passing along information, she was passing along survival. Word spread beyond the base. Other commanders started calling, "Can Sierra come train our pilots?" She said yes to a few, but never left black hollow for long. She wasn't chasing rank or medals, she wanted to help from where she was, quietly, steadily, consistently. Her patch, the silver dragon with 3 stars, remained on her flight suit. One day, a new recruit asked her, "Do you wear it because you're proud of what you did?" She smiled, just a little. "No," she said. "I wear it to remind myself that no one should have to learn those things the hard way, alone." Years passed. The pilots she trained moved on to command posts, real missions, war zones. Many of them came back with stories that began with, "Sierra taught me." She never asked for credit, but she changed everything, because real legacy doesn't need applause. Real greatness doesn't shout, it just shows up, does the work, and leaves people better than it found them. End.